Well, since I haven't done a review in quite some time, 5 months I think. Well, the last one I wouldn't really consider a review, more like a story mixed in with a review. Which, honestly, even if I look back on it now, it seems kind of cheesy and a little ridiculous. So, I decided to do something a little different this time. Instead of reviewing a video game, I'm gonna review something not only that's not a video game or a movie or a TV series for that matter, but something of my own creation. Because I'm hoping to turn this into a video game. Well, a movie or a TV, probably a mini series, considering it's not really all that suited for a TV show, considering what it's gonna take to make it come to life. Anyway, I know if you're listening to this right now, you're probably gonna want to shut it off right now because you're probably not gonna be interested in this. Because this creation is a series of books. I know there's probably a great deal of you out there who probably don't even remember what a book is. But for any literary folks out there, this might be for you. Though I highly doubt I'm probably going to get any views on this thing because since I've been reviewing video games, these people probably have no use for books. I've never met a person who's both into video games and into books aside from myself. No offense to those who are into video games and books at the same time, that's just personal experience. Anyway, let's get started. This book series is called the Gone and Return series. Written by yours truly. It stars a teenage boy who, even though years go by in the series, he always seems to remain a teenager, by the name of Jacob Brooks, who goes by the nickname of Burglar Jay. The name I kind of made up myself, considering I got a little hint of the last name family in mine, and plus I've always wanted to change my name to Jacob. Yeah, changing my name to Jacob might be a good idea. Never mind. I just wanted to base him off of what I always wanted to be. However, the first one, Burglar Jay in the Band of American Legionnaires, it's sort of a subtitle, kind of a secondary title to it. Just the first Gone and Return book was originally intended to be a sequel to another Gone and Return book I made years back. But if I did and I released the first one, not only would people beat me over the head with punctuation errors and copyright. Oh Lord, the copyright. Yeah, there were a lot of characters from other projects. I think there were more characters from other projects than original characters in that book. So, I decided to excuse that as a rough draft, never publish it, and make this as its own standalone project. Make it as like a remake. A remake that actually might be better than the original. Anyway, the book itself never really follows a linear story. It's sort of meant to be there. It's not meant to be there, but it's it's basically a bunch of short stories thrown together instead of chapters, and the chapters, like I said, are short stories in and of themselves. So it only makes sense, at least to me. Well, anyway, the characters, aside from Jay, aren't much to speak of. You got his team, the Band of American Legionnaires, but what is really interesting is that, to me at least, is that this character, the first time you see him, he comes back from the freaking dead. Now, he's not a zombie. Don't get me wrong. He's not a zombie. He appears in a beam of blue light. He's not an alien either. he's sent down from paradise back down to Earth to live a good life, as well as probably finish up a few spots that he missed, because believe it or not, this boy works for pretty much a goddess. Mother Nature, in fact. Now, you're probably thinking, oh god, he's a drum-circling hippie tree hugger. No! As a matter of fact, his environmentalism is actually very, very subtle compared to others you've seen. Most of the time, he plays himself off as a vigilante. A gun-toting, whip-slinging, outback hat-wearing vigilante. Well, you're probably thinking, oh god, this guy carries a whip, he's going to be an Indiana Jones knockoff. No. Just no. Sure, he does reference Indy once, but that kind of gives him the idea why he explains. He mentions Indiana Jones, so it's not copyright infringement whatsoever. He mentions it. So, what is he? Basically, he had a team before. He had a team before, so, well, 6 months prior to when this book takes place. Unfortunately, during one of his missions, he was sent to rescue one of his own teammates who'd been captured after nearly dying. He gets killed in the fight because he finally feels free. He decides to end it all. He just feels so invincible and liberated that he just goes out and throws himself in danger and ends up dying for it. That kind of gives you a clue of what his life was like. Plus, he's also blessed by Gaia with these visions that he could seeing negative events happening in the future, and they often haunt him. They hurt his mind. So Gaia, she gets her own personality. She's caring, but she's also regretful. She's not proud of what she's doing to this young boy who's done her community of nature so much good in his life. He used to be a great kid. And she's putting him through all this torment just to get something she needed done, because she can't do it on her own. And he's also blessed with these things called spontaneous mental imagery actions, or SMIA, which is the ability to bring objects from books, movies, and video games into the real world. Yeah, he often uses it as a dodge. And even he admits, towards the end of the book, it's not a good idea. Might as well get rid of him. So in the sequel, Gone and Return to the Five Crusades, which is a lot shorter than this one. Gone and Return 1 is 349 pages in length, and it's not even edited. I haven't gotten around to it yet. Gone and Return 2 is 288 pages and is edited. Now, there's one little... not little. This is a huge thing. The second team that he gets, because his first team does make an appearance towards the end of the book, but his second team, there are a bunch of filmmakers. They used to be... They're film stars with a fighting side to them. They're willing to perform his job. They're willing to give him a chance to live like he used to. They find this boy interesting and they want to stick with him. And just like him, they follow a creed. Once you side with someone, you stay with them. And if you can't do that, you're no better than some animal. And unlike most vigilantes in the world, this boy actually does have sort of a decent personality. He's not like Spider-Man, where he keeps making the same mistake, but he does have a family. He's got his brother, Eric. And towards the middle of the book, he finds his sister, Elena. She's blind, so there's nothing he can do about it. But he does find something to cure blindness, and that's where the real interesting stuff kicks off. The secondary team is switched off for a third one because the secondary team had to leave because they had to go back to Manhattan to continue their work. It was a tearful goodbye, but then he switched out for a third team I swear to God, this has got to be the most boring team I've ever come up with. I don't know what I was thinking to write this, but they're all pushed aside for just one other character that really saves this book. This book, honestly, it could have been horrible if I didn't introduce this character in it. You're probably going to guess who I got this character from. Ada Kyle. Yes, I'll admit, this character's probably going to push a few of Capcom's buttons. Because she is based off of Ada Wong from the Resident Evil series. No other character in this book is closely based off of anyone else. Ada is the only one that is. That's kind of a problem. But I made her far enough away from copyright infringement. I don't use the name, so as long as you give the character from what I understand, if you give the character a different name, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it looks like the other character or not, because Ada Kyle, just like Ada Wong, she is Asian American. She looks very similar. She does sport red all the time. But I want to put Burglar Jay through a similar story arc that I did when studying Ada Wong. And it did. And I did. It continued all the way into Gone and Return 2. Through the second half of the first book and all the way through the second book, he goes through this story arc of going from curiosity to hatred to back to curiosity again, to neutrality, to interest, to just downright grief for hating this character. So basically, Ada and Jake are pretty much the only interesting characters throughout the second book, aside from his siblings, because honestly, he lives in a pretty crazy family. Well, anyway, Ada's also another way Ada's based off of Ada Wong is that she's also a spy. She's sort of an anti-hero, walks the very thin line between hero and villain, blah, blah, blah. But still, it's the only way I can make this character go through the same story arc that I did, because a lot of people, they're interested in these kinds of story arcs. So if the audience, well, these books, every book is a gamble. It depends on what the audience is going to think about it. And that's just the first book. I'm going to be cranking out these stories like clockwork. I'll get to the second one later. But so far, Gone and Return 1, not the greatest book I've got, but definitely is a good place to start off. Kind of pushes a few buttons, but not so much so that I'm going to get sued for it. So, I'll see you next time when I talk about the later books. Mostly for the second one, Gone and Return 2. Then I'll get to the third one, and inevitably the fourth and fifth one. Adios.